You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
Failing New York Times has an anonymous editorial. Can you believe it? Anonymous, meaning gutless, a gutless editorial. We're doing a great job. The poll numbers are through the roof. Our poll numbers are great.
An anonymous member of the president's team is going behind the president's back and claiming to protect the country from the president. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the week in Washington in a moment. But first, our top stories at 7. The wait is over. After years of fits and starts, Sarasota's Bayfront is about to change. After 5 years of planning, we now know what the area around the Van Wezel will look like. Last night, the City Commission approved the Bay project. The Van Wezel will eventually move to another site on the Bayfront. The Bayfront planning team says a new parking garage will be built with the Performing Arts Center on top. The commission approved the renderings with a 1-acre event lawn, 3,000 to 4,000 square foot restaurant space, children's play space, and a cultural district. It is a major and expensive plan that will largely be funded by the community.
The funding is going to be obviously a necessary part of this project, and I think it's going to come from a lot of different places. As you know, I pride myself on being fiscally responsible, and so we'll see what they come back with, but obviously our citizens and their pocketbooks are always in mind.
Whatever is not raised from private donors will be up to the city to fund. Construction of the new Van Wezel isn't included in the $300 million total. It is expected to cost an additional $270 million. Help is now available for businesses impacted by red tide. Today, from the U.S. Small Business Administration, opened a temporary outreach center. It is located at the Island Branch Library on Marina Drive. Representatives will be on hand to help business owners apply for loans and get help. Hours will be Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. The center will also be open Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. A no swim advisory is now in effect for 2 Sarasota beaches and 1 Manatee County beach. That's after health officials found a high level of bacteria at the Casperin Beach in Venice, Bird Key Beach in Sarasota, and Bayfront Park North in Manatee County. The beaches remain open. However, wading, swimming, and water recreation is not recommended as long as there is an advisory in place. Now let's head over to ABC7's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the First Alert forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. Rain moving through parts of the Sun Coast earlier, pretty heavy at times. Now pushing out into the Gulf of Mexico. You can see that red and orange and yellows well off into the Gulf. There's a few isolated cells way back to the southeast of Arcadia right now, but not much going on here. Some light rain still lingering. I think the heavy weather is over for the time being. We'll see some storms tomorrow. Again, a pretty good chance of that scattered about. We may see a little earlier action too. One lone storm here in eastern sections of Charlotte County. That's about it. That's the only one generating lightning in our immediate area, and things looking good for high school football action, which is kicking off now in some areas and in just about a half hour from now as well. But light rain now from Inglewood up to South Venice to Manasota Beach. And you can see the rain was heavy at times into Bradenton, also northwest Bradenton near Palmasola. Not much going on except for that light rain along I-75. Boy, rainfall came down heavy too, especially near Bee Ridge, just to the west of I-75. That's the bullseye. 2.6 inches of rainfall there, and there's Bee Ridge right there. There's I-75, and we'll have much more on all of our weather coming up a little later. But our app weather, you want to download that First Alert weather app. Just go to our website, mysuncoast.com, and click on the tabs. It says download apps, and you should be able to download that for free. Alan?
Bob, thank you. In this week's episode of the Trump presidency, one of the president's own aides told the American people there is an effort to keep the nation safe from the president himself. ABC News political director Rich Klein gives us a look back at another week that we will never forget.
I'm ABC's Rick Klein with your political roundup. Look who's back and fired up as ever.
As a fellow citizen, I'm here to deliver a simple message, and that is that you need to vote because our democracy depends on it.
Former President Barack Obama is now on the campaign trail for the midterms, giving Democrats a counterweight to the current president.
He's just capitalizing on resentments that politicians have been fanning for years.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is keeping pressure on red state Democrats, particularly in the battle to hold on to the Senate.
I don't know why they don't talk about red waves.
It's the Senate where some of the most intriguing politics of the week played out. Supreme Court confirmation hearings doubled as 2020 auditions for a few potential Democratic hopefuls.
I think you're thinking of someone and you don't want to tell us.
This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
Their star turns came after another reminder of the angst in the Democratic base. In Boston, a 10-term incumbent Democrat lost his primary to a progressive challenger, who is now poised to become the first African-American woman to represent her home state in Congress. Next up, the long primary season comes to a close. The final contest of the year will be a big one. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo fending off a challenge from actress Cynthia Nixon. Rick Klein, ABC News, Washington.
In a moment, something different. We will be joined by Jeff Weaver, the 2016 presidential campaign manager for Senator Bernie Sanders. Stay with us.
Many websites selling medication may look professional and legitimate, but the vast majority of sites selling prescription drugs are doing so illegally. Criminals use websites to sell counterfeit medications that may contain life-threatening toxins. Dot Pharmacy is a website verification program that helps you identify safe and trustworthy online pharmacies. Purchasing medicine online can be safe and easy. Just look for pharmacy to the right of the dot in website addresses.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With Guaranteed Acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with Guaranteed Acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
Gettle's got what you're looking for at Gettle.com. 17 new car brands, over 1,000 used vehicles, prices and payments you can afford, credit help if you need it, and they pay cash for your old car. Plus, Gettle Pre-Owned Certified Plus means buying with peace of mind. Need service? Gettle's got that too. Gettle's got it. Visit Gettle.com.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
All across America, there are kids going hungry. It sounds crazy, but it's real. It's also a problem we're fixing. Kids who rely on school meals need help in the summer. That means neighborhood meal sites that are easy to get to and free for every kid. When you make breakfast part of a school day, a lot more kids get the chance to eat. These programs work. Over the past few years, 1/3 fewer children in the United States are facing hunger. Let's make No Kid Hungry a reality.
Welcome back. If you so much as blink this week, you miss what in ordinary times would be monumental events, raucous confirmation hearings for a Supreme Court nominee who may well end up tipping the scale of the U.S. Supreme Court, overshadowed by an unbelievable anonymous op-ed in the New York Times by a senior aide to President Trump claiming they and others are protecting the nation from him. The president calls it treason and demands a search for the person responsible, and President Obama, after calling out the politics of fear and resentment at John McCain's funeral, names names today, and the name is Trump. Joining us for more is Jeff Weaver, the 2016 presidential campaign manager for Senator Bernie Sanders, and welcome to the Suncoast.
Well, happy to be here.
You wrote a book about how Bernie won, which obviously he did and didn't because he didn't win the nomination, but he really did light a fire under progressive Democrats in Florida and around the country that has not been done before.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And, you know, if you look at the issues that are talked about now in politics, issues like Medicare for All, about raising the minimum wage to $15, free tuition at public colleges and universities, you know, criminal justice reform, immigration reform, you know, these are issues that were considered on the fringe of politics before Bernie Sanders ran for president. But he demonstrated the broad-based support for these initiatives, not just among Democrats, but also among independent voters who in most states can participate in the Democratic primary process.
If there's one thing that you would say to voters and our viewers here on the Suncoast, which is a heavily Republican area, heavily conservative, the Democratic Party has not won a lot around here. That may be changing. We had the special election for the State House a couple months ago where the Democrat won. But Democrats are motivated as we go into the midterms, but Republicans are confident that they're going to hold on to their seats. So what is the one thing that you would tell people on either side of the fence and those in the middle?
Well, look, I would say this. You have to talk to your neighbors. You know, too often in American politics these days we end up in our own silos where we only talk to people who think just like we do. We need to break out of that and start talking to our neighbors about the common aspirations that all Americans have. You know, it's funny when you poll people regardless of their political affiliation, their race, their geography, their gender, their sexual orientation, you know, and the issues, what they want out of life is very, very similar. You know, they want a decent economic life for their family. They want to live in social dignity. They don't want to worry about the risk of being bankrupted by a health issue. They want their kids to have a good education. They want to know how they're going to pay to take care of their aging parents. Like it is so amazing when you look at the commonality of what Americans are trying to achieve. And I think when we talk to our neighbors who choose to have voted Republican in the past, you know, we have to explain to them about what a progressive agenda looks like, how it's going to benefit all Americans, and how really the Republican Party, certainly in its current incarnation, which I think even many Republicans are concerned about, you know, has become increasingly a party that caters to the interests of very, very wealthy people at the expense of middle-income people, and preys on the cohesiveness of our society by spreading politics of division and hatred based on religion and race and other things.
But if you read our viewer comments, many times it gets down to this. We moved down to this area to escape the Northeast, where there are a lot of states with higher taxes. We don't want to pay more. We like it in Florida because there are less taxes here, and the perception is Democrats get in, they're going to turn this into a high-tax, socialistic state.
Yeah. Well, I'm confident that that's not going to happen. But look, I would say this. You know, take an issue like Medicare for All, for instance, which recently, in recent polls, is supported by 80% of Democrats, 52% of Republicans, you know, an amazing statistic. You know, it is a way of dealing with a significant problem in this country, which is people cannot afford the high cost of health care. Premiums are too high, deductibles are too high, copays are too high, and the cost of prescription drugs is through the roof, right? So by moving to a Medicare for All system, we will, in fact, cover everybody at lower cost because we can wring out the bureaucratic excesses caused by the insurance companies and the overcharging that we're getting from the pharmaceutical companies and others. That makes perfect sense, certainly to business people and to conservatives, you know, who want an efficient delivery of a necessary service.
Our conversation on the week in Washington continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Here's a red tide update from FWC right now. You can see the numbers are starting to get a little higher in Sarasota County. We're seeing some high concentrations just north of Venice. The midweek report Wednesday didn't show any high concentrations. That's over 1 million cells per liter of the red tide. And the indications are coming out from the FWC on the Friday report suggests that 10 miles offshore there's a bloom. So all this east wind may have blown it offshore for a while temporarily, but we're going to see a west wind coming back, it looks like beginning as early as Sunday, and that will start to have, I think, maybe an impact bringing it back on shore somewhat. You can see these are in Charlotte County right now, 2 areas of concern. Another one just south of Minnesota Key showing up as medium levels and lesser amounts, though, in South Venice. That's good news. We've had that one high concentration. And on Siesta Key, we're still seeing medium concentrations, a little less than 1 million cells per liter and just over 100,000 cells per liter. Now that is enough to kill fish, and so we'll keep an eye on that for you. Obviously, New Pass, Big Pass, some problems there, all the way up into North Manatee County. There's a little bit of activity near the mouth of the Manatee, so red tide's still there, although the harmful impacts haven't been as bad as much, and that's good for area businesses out there. They need the folks to come back out. I was on a Longboat Key yesterday. It was nice out there throughout the day. Lakewood Ranch webcam showing things weren't so nice at one point with some big storms coming through, but things cleared out quite nicely, and you can see just some high clouds around. They did cancel Music on Main as a result of the threatening weather, but as things look now pretty good out there. As far as this upper level low is concerned, we're watching it. This is the low that's enhancing our thunderstorms over the past 2 days now. There's been some rough weather reported with gusts up to 40, 50 miles an hour. We also have the remnants of what was Gordon moving through Arkansas into Missouri. That's going to be absorbed by a cold front. National Hurricane Center now interested in this area right here, a little area of low pressure trying to develop in advance of the arrival of Florence down the road now. It looks like a Titan radar picture still showing that circulation moving off to the northeast right there. The big storms are offshore, continuing to push away. 1 or 2 lone storms not out of the question. Most areas will stay dry for the rest of the evening, and we'll look for showers and storms to return maybe a little earlier in the day than we saw over the past couple of afternoons. But right now, that light rain is even getting out of here, so good news for the football area high school football action. Boy, some big rain earlier right there along Bee Ridge, just to the west of I-75. Florence, not very healthy looking here. This was 24 hours ago, was getting beat up by southwest winds. Now things are starting to improve. As far as the overall flow goes on the western edge, not nearly as much shear. We expect this to regain strength to hurricane status and go back to major Category 4 status in 5 days from now. There's the path and track. There's Bermuda, 105 mile-an-hour winds by Monday, up to 130 sustained winds by Wednesday of next week. And it looks like the Carolina coast is the favored area for this to eventually move in. That'll happen on Thursday or Friday of next week. A lot can happen until then, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. This is another system that we're watching quite closely. This one is now potential tropical storm number 9, and as far as the forecast goes with it, well, this turns into a hurricane too. After what was supposed to be a relatively quiet September, it's exploding right now. So we'll watch this nonetheless. It's expected to get into the Caribbean late next week. We'll be right back after this.
If you think it's hot outside, just wait until you see even hotter savings inside. Only at Rugs As Art Hot Summer Savings Sale event will you find the lowest prices on a vast selection of stunning rugs, furniture accents, and accessories. This special event only happens once a year, so hurry in before the best selections are gone. The Hot Summer Savings event ends soon, so don't miss out on the best prices ever. Rugs As Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
Attention, do you have Medicare? Do you want to make sure you have the most benefits and lowest possible out-of-pocket costs? You may be able to lower your out-of-pocket costs and get dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. Call the Medicare Coverage Helpline now to find out what you deserve.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Over 3 million people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline, but there are still many people who don't check to see if they're eligible for more benefits and lower out-of-pocket costs. It's so easy. One simple free call could save you money and get you more benefits. Be smart. Call the Medicare Coverage Helpline now.
Call now to see if you may be eligible to lower your copays and get extra benefits, including dental and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're able to save money and get more benefits now. Call 1-800-711-7200. Again, call 1-800-711-7200 now.
The body, it is a work of art and a powerful ally in the fight against cancer. A new approach called immunotherapy works by helping our immune system correctly identify and eradicate many types of cancer cells. Speak with your doctor and visit su2c.org/immunotherapy to learn more. Your body might just be your greatest hope.
Oh, look! A bouquet of lump-livered drolls.
We went to a real school to show that bullying should be history.
You monkey-elbowed pockmarks.
What a bunch of beef-witched pig nuts.
On Monday, October 1st, let's all stand up for World Day of Bullying Prevention by rocking a blue shirt. Together, let's make bullying a thing of the past. Go blue and get your blue shirt at stompoutbullying.org.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we are joined by political campaign manager of the 2016 campaign for Bernie Sanders, Jeff Weaver. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's talk about what's happening now. You know, we had, as I said at the outset, a pretty momentous week, as you know most weeks are these days. What did you make of the op-ed piece that was in the New York Times? Because on one hand, it seems incredible, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, but there is a lot of criticism that if an individual is going to say that, they should put their name to it.
Right. So let me say this. Clearly, sort of unprecedented occurrence. I worked on Capitol Hill for 14 years in the Congress. You would never have heard about anything like this. You know, generally, if you disagree with the person you work for, you know, to a significant degree, you leave your position and you may or may not say something publicly. That's obviously up to you. So this is really unprecedented. I think it exposes really the dysfunction within this White House. On the other hand, you know, I think that there is some justification to those who say that, you know, if you're going to write this, you should have your name on it so that readers can judge for themselves based on the motivations of who it is about how valid they believe the writing is. So I think there's truth to both sides, but I think it is a very concerning occurrence in the sense that you know, you have the most powerful person in the world in the White House in the form of the president, who has a tremendous impact on our economy, with a few words can, you know, tank markets, who has access to weapons of mass destruction, and to have such dysfunction within that place is pretty disturbing.
President Obama took on Donald Trump for the first time using his name today in a speech in Illinois, but he also took on both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and I want to talk to you for a moment about what's going on in the Democratic Party right now. Since the campaign that you ran, there is progressives have really you know, stepped up in terms of their involvement in trying to get progressives elected to office, but that also has meant some kind of clash between, you know, people who have been in the Democratic Party all this time and people who are new to it. President Obama took on that very issue today, and let's take a look at what he said.
Sure.
You cannot sit back and wait for a savior. You can't opt out because you don't feel sufficiently inspired by this or that particular candidate. This is not a rock concert. This is not Coachella. We don't need a messiah. All we need are decent, honest, hard-working people who are accountable and who have America's best interests at heart.
I think you know who he's talking about, because there were a lot of people who supported Bernie Sanders that after the nomination, despite the fact that the senator himself told people to vote for Hillary Clinton, they stood on the sidelines and they did not vote, or they voted third party. What would you say to people like that? And there are a lot of them around here.
Yeah, well, and I worked also, you know, as a volunteer very hard to elect Secretary Clinton in the general election. I was on TV quite a bit and was a surrogate for her at one of the debates. Look, you know, the truth of the matter is that more of Hillary Clinton supporters in 2008 defected to McCain and did not vote for President Obama than was the case in 2016 with Bernie supporters. So, you know, I hear the criticism. It's not sort of borne out historically in terms of the numbers, but I will say this. Look, a political party is like a church in some ways. If you're a preacher with no congregation, you have no church. You're just a person speaking into the wind. And a party that doesn't speak to people, that doesn't inspire people, that doesn't cause people to be motivated to come out and support it, just has no relevance in people's lives. And so the greatest challenge for political institutions is to be relevant. And to do that, you need to articulate a message, and you're seeing it in race after race across this country. Here in Florida with Andrew Gillum, somebody who stands unabashedly with working class people and middle class people, excites young people, brings together people as opposed to tearing communities apart. And that's the key to winning. And I understand that, you know, it's a new way of thinking relatively in the Democratic Party, but it's really the old way of thinking. This is what FDR did in the 40s.
But would you be concerned that the Democrats could do what some Republicans are concerned about doing, that if you were not all in on Trump, you're not considered a real Republican, and in the minds of some progressives, if you're not all in there, you know,
yeah, look, you know, we have a two-party system in this country. The way we're set up is it leads us to a two-party system. Other countries have multi-party, you know, ideologically homogenous parties. We're just not set up that way. So both parties are necessarily a coalition of sorts. The question is, what is the dominant message within that coalition, and what is the most effective way for Democrats to win? Because both parties are minority parties in this country. Neither has 50% of the population. You need independent voters, and it is increasingly clear that independent voters support bold progressive messaging.
Okay, Jeff Weaver, thank you very much,
Thank
and
you.
good luck to you. We want to thank political staffer Jeff Weaver, who ran Bernie Sanders' campaign, for joining us. Coming up next, our discussion on the week in Washington continues. In just a moment, the Manatee Democratic Chair, Cheryl Wilson, is here, along with Martin Hyde of the Sarasota Republican Party. Stay with us.
I heard about the Detoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Detoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you, with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991. Now, in one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TrueStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now, before it's too late.
Make us swim! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
I used to dread getting up and going to work.
I was done with the corporate grind.
I was tired of being a starving artist.
And I started looking around for a business that I believed in, and I kind of wanted to do something a little more green.
My SCORE mentor helped me take the first step.
He helped me create a business plan and helped me implement it.
They've really taught me how to think big.
SCORE helped me to make the unimaginable possible, all for free. I'm here because of SCORE.
I'm here because of SCORE.
Get your free business mentor at SCORE.org.
You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. We are talking about the week in Washington, and joining us for more are Manatee County Democratic Chair Cheryl Wilson and Martin Hyde of the Sarasota Republican Party. So let's continue the conversation about the events with President Trump this week. The op-ed, the anonymous op-ed from somebody supposedly inside the White House saying that there is a secret society protecting the country from the president. And I'm wondering what you all are thinking about this on a local level. But let's start with what the president told a group about this last night.
The latest act of resistance is the op-ed published in the failing New York Times by an anonymous, really an anonymous, gutless coward. Is it subversion? Is it treason? It's a horrible thing.
Martin, is this subversion? Is it treason?
I don't know about treason. It's a good story. It's a hell of a good story.
Well, I mean, it's a good story, but I mean, on one hand, you could say it should scare us to death. If there is somebody who, and a group of people preventing the president from doing certain things in the White House, they're not elected by anyone.
Oh, absolutely. And if there's any truth to it, a true patriot would come out and own it, because when it comes down to it, it would be a serious matter. If he's really a Looney Tunes, as someone is implying that he is, then they should come out and they should own it. Because as it stands at the moment, you've seen all the statements the people that have made that have said it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. We're now down to a guessing game of who it was. By definition, unless people are lying about it, it's now one of the backbench type players.
We don't know who it was, but
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. We've seen that the people who are taxed with keeping Donald Trump in line aren't able to do it. General Kelly is supposed to be able to keep control. Reince Priebus was supposed to be able to at least have some influence on it. So it doesn't matter whether the person is known or unknown. They're unable to keep Donald Trump in line. Do I have respect for someone who speaks quietly and anonymously, and I can say the word? No. But if we are depending, if we're finding any comfort in the fact that there's a small group who may be doing that, we're misleading ourselves, because they're not going to be effective.
Of course, this comes in the backdrop of the book by Bob Woodward of Watergate fame, which is coming out on Tuesday. And Martin, he is one person that it's very difficult to say that this is a Omarosa book or the other book that came out before this. This is probably the most respected investigative reporter who has written books, honest books, and sometimes negative books about Obama and Bush, every president since Nixon, and he's painting a very concerning picture about this president and what is going on in the White House.
I think the presumption of people where they're saying that we have to save the president from himself, exactly what is it that they claim that he's about to do? Push the button, turn the key, say something, tweet something? What specifically? And frankly, who are they? He's the president of the United States. If he does something egregious, the people will judge him.
Cheryl?
There are people in place who need to be acting. There's Congress of the United States. There's a judicial department in the government. That's a relationship that we could pursue as well. But the people who are charged with taking some steps are the people that aren't doing it. I agree. The staffer or the high-ranking administration official, that's not his job. His job isn't to take papers off the desk of the President of the United States. But there are people who are authorized to step in, and those are the people that are failing us.
Here's the bottom line. According to a new CNN ORC poll, only 15% of Americans say they trust the government in Washington. This is
I'd like to know who the 15% are. I mean, that's not new, Alan. I mean, that's something that's been around a long time.
It is new because the all-time previous low was 17%.
Okay.
Where obviously this new administration came in to drain the swamp and get things done, and you know, you got a tax bill through this year, a lot of rollbacks of regulation, but it doesn't seem that a lot else is getting done in Washington.
There's unintended consequence of this world that we live in. We're adapting to it. The social media, the polarization, the opposite ends of both parties. I'm not terribly surprised that people are turned off by it, because all that one ever hears is how bad each of them are, and very little conversation about actual policy. You mentioned one policy. We should be talking about policy all the time.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the governor's race. The field is set. Andrew Gillum against Ron DeSantis. New polls coming out show that Gillum has maybe a 1 or 2 point lead here. Cheryl, are you excited?
We're very excited. It was interesting to watch the election results on the primary election night. We had a gathering at our headquarters. We had a lot of people from representing several candidates, and the excitement in the room built. Even people who had not particularly supported Mayor Gillum got excited as it became obvious what was happening. The level of interest in response from Democrats in general has been exciting. When he named Chris King as his running mate, it gave it another shot of adrenaline. So yeah, we think it's going to be an interesting campaign.
Those who didn't support him, did they not support him because they didn't think he could win?
We heard that. We heard that. I was accused of being very idealistic because I said to people, vote for the person you think will make the best governor. Because we heard that question a lot. Who do you think can win in November? And I said to people frequently, vote for the candidate that you think will be the best governor, and that should be the same person.
Martin, did you like the way that the Republican primary turned out, and do you like the Ron DeSantis versus Mayor Gillum?
You know, the question there is an interesting one. Vote for the person that you think would make the best governor. In some ways, the logical vote is vote for the person that you think can win, and I can see why people wouldn't have initially backed Andrew Gillum because of that. As far as DeSantis and Putnam, there were a tremendous amount of people within the establishment that wanted Putnam. He'd put many, many years. It had a lot of good knowledge, but with the Okeechobee and the sugar and the chumming of the water, so to speak, if you'll excuse the pun there, he was dead as soon as Trump put the boot in with his nomination for a support for DeSantis. I think it's a fascinating proposition. What we've got here is two opposite ends of the polls.
What is also fascinating is the impact that this will have on down ballot races. Number one, the U.S. Senate race. People have been very critical of the race that Bill Nelson has been running so far. It seems it's not energetic. Governor Scott has been on television for a long time now. I've heard some pundits say that Bill Nelson may have just been saved by Andrew Gillum.
I think Bill Nelson was probably very happy when he realized that he was going to be able to move with the momentum of Andrew Gillum. We're hearing that Senator Nelson is going to become much more obvious, much more prominent now that it's in the general election status. I am a Democrat who believes he needs to be. He needs to become more visible and more outspoken, but I do think that the Gillum candidacy gave him a boost as well. It also excited him.
Right, and Martin, whether you're talking about the U.S. Senate race or races for Congress or even down to the state rep and state Senate races, does the governor's race have an impact on all these races that are taking place here on the Suncoast?
I think it has the potential to mobilize. It's ironic, we're talking about blue wave and blue tsunami. It may be an unintended consequence of having a progressive so-called candidate that it mobilizes more Republicans. You know, the indifference to the polls and the fact that in Sarasota County more Democrats came out and voted proportionally than the Republicans at the primary has worried the Republican Party, and rightly so. I think Andrew Gillum might excite the Democrat base. I think he might do exactly the same for the Republicans.
You seem to be saying that Republicans have something to be concerned about here.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. I mean, it's a two-horse race. There's no question that every Republican has to realize that if they don't get out and if they don't vote, there's every chance that Andrew Gillum, mayor of Tallahassee, most crime-ridden city in Florida, becomes the governor.
I see that we are just warming up. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment. Stay with us.
Excuse me a minute. Hi, Dad. No, don't try to get up.
Hi, I'm Julie, a right-at-home caregiver. And if I'd been caring for Tom's dad, I would have noticed some dizziness that could lead to balance issues. That's because I'm trained to report any changes in behavior, no matter how small. So Tom can have peace of mind.
We'll be right there. We have to go.
Hey, Tom, you should try Right at Home. They're great for us.
The right care, right at home.
Attention, do you have Medicare? Do you want to make sure you have the most benefits and lowest possible out-of-pocket costs? You may be able to lower your out-of-pocket costs and get dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. Call the Medicare Coverage Helpline now to find out what you deserve.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Over 3 million people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline, but there are still many people who don't check to see if they're eligible for more benefits and lower out-of-pocket costs. It's so easy. One simple free call could save you money and get you more benefits. Be smart. Call the Medicare Coverage Helpline now.
Call now to see if you may be eligible to lower your copays and get extra benefits, including dental and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're able to save money and get more benefits now. Call 1-800-711-7200. Again, call 1-800-711-7200 now.
Kettle's got it. Kettle's got it.
Kettle's got what you're looking for at Kettle.com. 17 new car brands, over 1,000 used vehicles, prices and payments you can afford. Credit help if you need it, and they pay cash for your old car. Plus, Kettle Pre-Owned Certified Plus means buying with peace of mind. Need service? Kettle's got that too.
Kettle's got it.
Visit Kettle.com.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Webb.
And I'm Ray Collins. A new place for dogs in Sarasota, a canine club opening in Gillespie Park.
We'll show you all the new features at the city's latest pet park. That's Monday on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
So we'll watch the Atlantic over the course of next week and let you know whether or not we'll be watching a hurricane get closer to the United States. We'll have those details.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
And our guests join us right now for final thoughts, and let's drill all the way down to the race for U.S. Congress. Cheryl, David Shapiro put out a poll that his campaign did last week showing that he's within just a couple of points of Vern Buchanan. You have to keep in mind that is a campaign poll and not a public poll. But how would you stack the odds for this race?
I think it's a winnable race for Democrats. I think we know that it's still a challenge, that we are outnumbered in registrations. But when we look at the results in the primary, in the races that did have a Republican against a Democrat, Democrats polled very well in both Manatee County and Sarasota County. I think I used to say that the most common question I got was, who are you going to run against Vern Buchanan? And people are excited about David Shapiro's candidacy and are very interested in getting him elected.
Martin, around the entire country, Republican incumbents who won their last election by 20-odd points are going down for defeat in special elections. They're very concerned now. But I did know this, if you know the website 538, it still says that Vern Buchanan has, a 7-in-1 chance of winning this race.
Oh, I think that's probably about right. He's a 6-term congressman. He's got a lot more money to play with. He's got a personal fortune substantial if things get tight. Frankly, I'm not here to tell the Democrats how to run things, but a personal injury lawyer, not necessarily middle-aged, not necessarily a candidate that I get the warm and fuzzies for if I'm a progressive. I think Vern Buchanan wins.
Do you get one for a used car salesman? We could certainly play that game.
Well, you could.
But to you, Alan, I would say the polls didn't give Andrew Gillum a shot either, and the polls locally didn't give Reverend Golden a shot in Manatee County. So things are very different in this cycle.
What does this campaign get down to? Does it get down to the national mood, or does it get down to local issues? Because to date, I really have not seen either candidate really stake out bold moves, bold issues in terms of this particular race.
Vern does have very good support, fairly broad support locally. 12 years of Congress, a long time. I think it's very difficult. Locally, I just haven't seen an awful lot of energy yet from the Shapiro campaign. That's a long way to come from. I think 7-1's about fairer handicapping.
Vern has tried to reinvent himself for this cycle, though. He is a different candidate and a different personality than he has been in previous races. We heard President Trump say maybe the red wave was coming, but the red tide's already here. And Vern and Rick Scott and a lot of the Republicans are going to have to take responsibility for that. And it's up to us to point that out to the voters, that there are local issues, and that's certainly a paramount one.
And Martin, you get the last word.
Well, he's got that big boat, so the red tide shouldn't terribly bother him. I don't think we could
Glad
lay
you
that
said
one
that.
on. Wow.
Why don't we just leave it there? Okay. Thank you both. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of viewers said about last night's show on the Bradenton-based Centerstone, which is one of the area's premier mental health facilities. But 2 suicides are raising a lot of questions. They are separate cases, but among the questions, Centerstone's protocols for checking in on suicidal patients, specifically where the 2 men who took their own lives checked on every 15 minutes per policy. Rose Marie says, I don't understand how not one person could check on someone for 9 hours. That's horrible. No person should ever die of suicide in a mental health facility. Denise says, I am really sorry for the pain and anguish the surviving families are probably going through, but in spite of their best help, no one can control another person's decision, thus preventing their deaths. Rose Marie responding, many people have very successful lives. This was a tragedy due to the lack of supervision. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight, Cheryl Wilson and Martin Hyde, for joining us. When we return in your primetime headlines, former Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos faces a federal judge in his sentence when we come back. But right now, let's get a final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
And we're watching the Van Wezel webcam right now. Some storms around, blowing on through, some pretty heavy rainfall too in some areas. You can see all that kind of working its way off to the west, and then, boy, it came heavy at one point. The skies cleared just a little bit, some sunlight out there as the sun was setting, and it looks like we'll see generally fair skies for the remainder of the evening after midnight. We have this upper level feature, this low pressure system that has really enhanced our storms over the past couple of days now. That will stay with us through Saturday. It should depart on Sunday, although the rain chances will be still at 40% on Sunday. Now, as far as the remnants, the tropical depression, Gordon, that is heading off through Arkansas. For us, it's still just light rain now, so no signs of any heavy rainfall around until you go well offshore, over 100 miles to the west of the Suncoast. And we're going to stay dry, too, it looks like, for the remainder of this evening. Now, out in the tropics, we're really watching a couple of systems that are of concern to the United States. This one in particular, this is Florence, and this is going to be a big player late next week, about this time next week, if it all goes as the models are suggesting. This is going to be on the Carolina coast as a major hurricane, so it looks like we're not going to avoid that. The wind's up to 65 now, and it's moving off to the west-northwest. It will be a 4 by Wednesday next week with 130-mile-an-hour winds sustained. Now, this area in particular is where the Gulf Stream is, and so temperatures will stay very warm there over the ocean as that moves over the top of it. Conditions are expected to be favorable for development and will strengthen as it moves off toward the west-northwest. So the bullseye right now appears to be the Carolinas, but that could change. It could shift off to the north, or it could even shift off down to the south a little bit. We'll watch it nonetheless. Tropical tracker, this is the area of concern now. This is tropical or potential tropical storm number 9, and that is moving off to the west. And the forecast models pretty much in all agreement that it's going to head toward the Caribbean. Now, normally during a normal season, this would be rather ominous, and it would be very dire news for much of the islands there. But the story is, it looks like once it gets into the Caribbean as a hurricane possibly, it looks like it'll fall apart later on down the road. We'll see how that plays out, but it's a long way off too. This is in 5 days from now, still not even in the Caribbean. So a lot can happen between now and then. Here's the Florence. There goes Florence, the European forecast model. Here comes what probably is going to be Isaac. that heads off to the west. And notice, once it gets into the Caribbean, we have some strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And then just south of the Dominican Republic, it starts to break up a little bit. And then by not this Saturday, but next Saturday, it just kind of opens up to a weak area of low pressure in the western Caribbean. But that's so far off, we can't just rely on that. But that just gives you an indication of what we are expecting in the Caribbean as it moves on through. Some pretty strong southwest winds are anticipated. So right now, I'm not too concerned about Florence for our area. I am concerned about it for the mid-Atlantic coast states down into the southeast United States. 74 right now. Nice and calm conditions out there. The barometer 2995, and the high today was 89, right at the average. The low was pretty close to it at 74 degrees. And as far as the overall national satellite and radar picture goes, there's our little Gordon spinning around still over Arkansas, starting to merge with this cold front. This cold front is going to try and slip down into the southeast over the upcoming days, and that will switch our winds around, unfortunately, to the southwest, which has a tendency to blow that red tide, at least the effects, back on shore. East winds turn to the northwest at 5 to 10 knots. There'll be a light chop in the bays and inland waters. Here's the forecast then for the next 7 days. Rain chance lessens a little bit on Sunday. The timing of the storms could change a little bit too. We make it a little sooner over the weekend, and then Monday a 30% chance for mainly morning showers. We start to see a little bit more action by Wednesday of next week. Alan will be right back after this. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. My firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, hundreds of people with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them. We have local offices throughout the U.S. and there is no risk to you. Mesothelioma really is all we do. Call us at 1-800-485-6000. That's 1-800-485-6000. Or go to mesoonlylaw.com.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half-mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. In the park on a bench, on the beach on a towel, or on your couch with your kid, your campus is wherever you want it to be. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. You schedule classes around your schedule, and all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. At Independence U, you'll learn from professional instructors with real work experience. You'll get personal support in school and employment assistance when you graduate. Get your degree, but keep your life. That's independence. That's Independence University. So if you're really smart, you'd call now.
Call 1-800-965-2704.
Independence U, for an independent you.
Call 1-800-965-2704.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
And even if you're on a fixed income, prices fit your budget, starting at less than 32 cents a day. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease. And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call 1-800-842-7189. Now, for a free, no-obligation quote, TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-842-7189 now.
It's rainy season on the Suncoast. Storms can pop up at a moment's notice. Sometimes it's just rain. Sometimes it's much worse. When severe weather strikes, trust ABC7 First Alert Weather. We're here for you.
Checking primetime headlines, former Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos has been sentenced to 2 weeks in prison for lying to investigators about his contact with individuals tied to Russia during the 2016 campaign. Sarah Murray reports.
George Papadopoulos, the former foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign, is now the first member of the president's team to be sentenced as part of the Russia investigation. The historic distinction far from the national impact the 31-year-old had hoped to have. According to the sentencing memo from Papadopoulos' lawyers, he misled investigators to save his professional aspirations and preserve a perhaps misguided loyalty to his master. That master and the administration quick to dismiss the former foreign policy advisor's role.
It was a volunteer position, and again, no activity was ever done in an official capacity.
I have no idea why people would think that a volunteer coffee boy like George Papadopoulos would get to the top of this campaign.
It was Papadopoulos who revealed to a diplomat that he had been told the Russians had thousands of emails about Hillary Clinton. That helped set off an FBI investigation that eventually became Robert Mueller's special counsel probe. During the 2016 campaign, the young advisor attended a meeting of Trump's new national security team, including Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions. Papadopoulos pitched a meeting between then-candidate Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. When the FBI asked him about his Kremlin-linked contacts seeking to meddle in the presidential election,
What Papadopoulos did was lie, and that's on him, not on the campaign, and we can't speak for that.
in court documents, the defense pleaded his ignorance. To say George was out of his depth would be a gross understating. His wife got even more technical.
He didn't lie because of the nature of his relationship with Russia, because he didn't have any relationship with Russia. He lied about the date.
But the prosecution says Papadopoulos was not just a nervous novice, but an uncooperative one. The defendant did not provide substantial assistance, and much of the information provided by the defendant came only after the government confronted him.
And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us and have a great weekend.